You know, when we hear about massive cyber attacks, it's pretty easy to picture some lone hacker in a dark room just chaotically smashing keys. But the reality? It's way more structured. These attacks aren't random acts of chaos. They're methodical operations, and they almost always follow a clear, predictable playbook.
And that, right there, brings us to the biggest problem for anyone trying to defend a network. I mean, if an attacker is sneaking around your systems, how on earth do you figure out their plan? How do you anticipate their next move when their entire goal is to be invisible? It's a massive challenge.
So, for a long time, defenders really needed a blueprint, a way to visualize this invisible enemy. And the first huge breakthrough actually came from a pretty unexpected place, the defense industry. They created a framework to map out an attacker's entire journey, from start to finish.
That blueprint is called the Cyber Kill Chain. It was developed by Lockheed Martin, and its inspiration came directly from military strategy. The core idea is this concept they call intelligence-driven defense. The thinking is, if you can actually understand the distinct stages of an attack, you can find opportunities to step in, break the chain, and stop the adversary dead in their tracks.
So what does this blueprint even look like? Well, it's a 7-step process. It all starts with reconnaissance. That's the attacker gathering intel on their target. Then comes weaponization, where they actually build their malicious tool. Delivery is how they get it to you, usually through an email or a shady website. Exploitation, that's the moment the weapon goes off, taking advantage of some vulnerability. After that is installation, where the malware digs in and creates a foothold. Then it establishes command and control, or C2, which is just it calling home to the attacker for instructions. And finally, actions on objectives. This is the end game. This is where the attacker achieves their goal, whether it's stealing your data or unleashing ransomware.
Now, this whole linear model is brilliant for understanding the general flow of an attack. But here's the plot twist. Really skilled attackers, they almost never stick to a simple, straight line. They improvise.
In the real world, an attack is often more of a cycle. An attacker might get all the way to that actions on objectives phase and steal some data, but then they realize, hey, I can get more. So what do? They might loop all the way back to an earlier phase, like exploitation, to get more privileges, move over to other machines, and then start the whole data theft process all over again. The kill chain is a great map, but the attacker can definitely revisit any location on it.
And this complexity, well, it revealed a gap. See, knowing the stages of an attack is one thing, but to truly defend against a sophisticated adversary, you need to know how they execute each of those stages. You need the fine print.
Let's think of it this way. If the cyber kill chain is the high-level blueprint telling you what happens and when it happens, then the MITRE attack framework is the incredibly detailed encyclopedia explaining how it happens. It's the difference between knowing a burglar is going to break in and knowing every single lockpicking technique they could possibly use.
So let's properly introduce our encyclopedia. MIT ATT&CK is this massive, community-driven knowledge base. And the key thing here is that it's not theoretical. It's a catalog of real-world tactics and techniques that have been observed in actual attacks. It documents what malicious actors are really doing out there.
And this is it. The ATTN matrix for enterprise. Just look at the sheer scale of this thing. That's what makes it so powerful. Each column is a tactic, like execution or credential access, and those line up pretty nicely with the kill chain stages. But under each one of those tactics are all the known techniques that adversaries use to achieve that goal. It's an incredibly detailed map of the adversary's mind. Let's zoom in a bit to see how this actually works. You take a broad tactic, like execution, which just means getting your code to run, and it breaks down into specific techniques, like command and scripting interpreter. Then that breaks down even further into sub-techniques, like using a Visual Basic script. Or maybe you look under the collection tactic and find the automated collection technique. This incredible level of detail is what allows defenders to hunt for very specific, tangible actions.
So we have our blueprint and we have our encyclopedia. But these two things aren't competing with each other. They are incredibly powerful partners. Let's take a look at how they work together in the real world during an actual ransomware attack. We're going to look at a case involving the notorious Lazarus Group and their VHD ransomware. The attack started with an initial intrusion, probably through a vulnerable VPN gateway. From there, they stole credentials, escalated their privileges, moved across the network, and finally, they executed the ransomware. A classic multi-stage attack.
Okay, so imagine you're on the security team. An alert goes off, you've got suspicious traffic talking to a known command and control server. So what do? Well, first, you use the cyber kill chain just to get your bearings.
This traffic tells you the attacker is probably in the installation or command and control phase. Now that you know where you are in the attack, you pivot to MITRE ATT and CK to understand how they're doing it, mapping their specific actions to that big encyclopedia of techniques.
And here's what that looks like in practice. A defender can take all the intelligence reports on the Lazarus group, plug them into a tool called the ATT&CK Navigator, and instantly highlight every single technique this group is known to use. This creates a visual footprint of the attacker's playbook. So now, instead of just blocking one IP address, you can proactively hunt for evidence of every single one of these highlighted techniques across your entire network. It's a game changer.
So, what's the big picture here? Why do these frameworks matter so much? Well, it's all about fundamentally changing the game of cybersecurity.
Using the kill chain and ATT together, it transforms defense from a reactive game of whack-a-mole into a proactive, intelligence-driven strategy. It lets teams actively hunt for threats before they cause damage, respond to incidents way faster, write much smarter detection rules, and even have their own red teams perfectly emulate real attackers to test their defenses.
Ultimately, the real takeaway is this. Modern cybersecurity isn't just about building higher walls anymore. It's about intelligence. It's about knowing your enemies so well that you can anticipate what they're going to do and disrupt their campaign before they ever reach their goal. It's like reading their playbook while they're still deciding on the next play.
But this brings us to one last, really interesting question. We have the attacker's blueprint. We have their encyclopedia of techniques. We can map their every move in incredible detail. So why is defending our networks still one of the most challenging problems of our time?